If it's not obvious, the game industry is changing fast, really fast. So naturally, I get this question a lot. Is the indie game dev dream dead? See, in the past, game developers could use crowdfunding or Kickstarter to quickly gather up enough money in like 30 days and go full-time indie. I know I did that multiple times. But these days, even I start to wonder if Kickstarter is still a viable option to go full-time indie. In this video, I discuss this exact question with my buddy Josh Chambers, who lost his job and scrambled to try and raise a full-time salary for his indie game Layers Deep. He tried to use crowdfunding, and well, at the end of this video, we're gonna answer that looming question. Is crowdfunding, is it still viable for you if you wanna make indie games full-time? Let's go.
About 7 or 8 months ago, the animation industry shut down. I had a little game I was working on, and I had about 6 months of savings. So I was like, I'm not going to get hired for an animation job. I have no choice but to try something new. So me and my co-developer Eric, we got together and we scrapped the game I was making and we started fresh. And we said in 6 months, we're going to have a finished demo and we're going to try and secure funding somehow. And that was the plan we laid out. And then we just worked like dogs to make it happen. And we overshot by a few months, 2 months to be exact. And we were unable to get the demo ready. But it's like, it didn't matter that it wasn't perfect because in the end, we hit the launch button on the Kickstarter and we said, hey, you know what? We tried. We had a plan. We tried our best. We tried our darndest. And what's going to happen from here is going to happen because I'm out of money. So there's no more dev time here. We have no choice but to press the launch button, and we did.
By the way, if you're like me and you always dreamt of making an indie game as a full-time job, I have a free webinar below that goes into exactly how to make 6 figures with just a demo. I was just like you for years. I thought I had to make a game in its entirety before getting a paycheck, but there's actually 3 ways to make 6 figures before even finishing your game. I've done this multiple times, so check it out below if you do want to go full-time indie. And thanks for watching. You didn't just click launch, right? You did something. You had a strategy in mind. Tell us about the strategy.
So the strategy was to have at least like 500 to 1,000 people following the page before launching. Also to set a goal that is doable and not shoot for the moon. Because if you clear a goal, people are more confident in your project rather than if you're struggling to meet it, people are less likely to back because they're not as confident in your game. Next is to have a really strong brand. So branding is way more important than I thought. Like I thought oh, if we had a good game trailer, like that's all that needs to happen. But that's not true at all. You need to have a really strong identity, and a Kickstarter is a really good way to build a brand and an identity. And it kind of is a good way to give people faith in your game.
Okay, so let's figure this out. You said how many followers of the Kickstarter page did you recommend?
500 to 1,000, and that was for the goal of reaching $30,000.
Okay, so I like to try and turn guests' advice into a framework that can really be applied. Okay, so let's figure this out. 500 to 1,000 followers before launching your Kickstarter campaign, correct?
Yes, yeah, correct.
Okay, let's quickly give people listening. How do they follow you? What is that?
You need to set up a pre-launch page on your Kickstarter, and when you link that out, people can click the notify me on launch button.
For everybody listening, everything at the end of the day comes down to an email list. Email lists are what Jeff Walker, he's a marketing guru, he calls them a money printing machine. And what people don't understand is that whether it's following a Kickstarter campaign or wish listing a game on Steam, everybody thinks those are unique. Like, no, that's not an email list. No, that's literally just an email list. And the reason why is because all it does is once they follow you, Kickstarter emails them when it's live. That's it. So it's an email list. Everything comes down to classic 1990s marketing. I mean, it's the same freaking thing. My entire business model for this YouTube channel is based on an email list. My business model for my games is partly based on email lists, aka Steam wish lists. So that's what you're saying when you say people followed you, correct? Ultimately, they're just going to get an email notification.
Yeah, totally. And people recommend making your own email lists, like you said. Apparently, it's a lot stronger to just have your own email list than to use Kickstarters, because then they're your contacts, so you can email whenever.
Sure, you can build a strategy around when you contact them. The same is true with Steam. Side note, the thing about getting Steam wish lists is, yes, it would be wonderful if you owned your own list as well. The problem is you want to prioritize Steam wish lists because the Steam algorithm loves that. And so if you purely focused on building your own email list for your game, Steam wouldn't know about that. And so Steam wouldn't know to push your game more because it doesn't have those wish lists. So that's a side note as it relates to Steam. I'm curious if that's the same with Kickstarter. I'm sure the Kickstarter backend looks at your followers and knows if they're going to push your game more. Because one of the benefits of Kickstarter, I'm not sure if you got a front page feature. Did you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You got a front page feature, I would say, in part because it knew to do that before you even hit launch because you had 1,000 followers or whatever. Okay, so we've got followers. We understand that. How did you actually drive them to subscribe, though?
Okay, so Reddit and Twitter were my main social medias that I was kind of pushing it on. But also I emailed every single influencer and person in contact that I had. And one of the people that got back to me, Alana Pierce, who's a pretty big gaming influencer and host, agreed to sign posters of a character that she's playing in the game now.
Whoa.
For backers, and then promoted it on her social medias and YouTube and stuff. And that drove a lot of people to the campaign. As well as, like, I had some of my old connects from, like, Newgrounds that are now doing, like, TV shows and stuff retweet all my posts. So I definitely
and this was prior to launching the campaign?
Yeah, this was prior to launching the campaign.
So you got Alana to participate in a pre-launch sort of campaign. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What you did is you did exactly what any PR agency would do, which is hit all of your contacts hard. And then if 5% of them bite, you've won the game. You know? Tell me about the strategy of putting her in the game.
What's really cool is this is actually her idea. Like, I just was asking people to maybe promote the game kind of horribly. And she was like, that's not going to work. Like, she's been doing this for a while, so she's really smart. She came in and she's like, here's what will get you backers. Let me play a character in your game. Do like a painting of the character or whatever, make a poster of this character, and I will sign it and give it to backers. It was all her idea. I was like, holy crap, that's the nicest thing anyone has ever done.
So tell me about how the campaign felt.
It was crazy because we were going from like sprinting development to now sprinting marketing. And it's like you said, it's a completely different part of your brain. It was a complete mental shift, and I had to reset from game developer to marketer. And it was really weird and jarring at first because, you know, like you say in your videos, it's a skill that you need to develop, and I hadn't developed this skill, so I was developing it on the fly, and it just felt like I was making every mistake in the book. And it was crazy. A lot of like lucky breaks and tough moments, but it's like, if you're willing to push through and email people like crazy and like actually treat marketing with the same fervor that you treat game development, it's doable.
Did you feel sleazy? Did you feel gross? Did you feel guilty?
You know what? I don't think I did. I never let it get to that point. I don't think it's gross or sleazy to message people and to market your game.
I don't either. But a lot of people feel that way, and I was curious.
Yeah.
Was it scary, stressful?
It was really stressful. I think we got like 20K on like the first 2 days, so it's like a lot of game developers I'd been talking to was like, oh yeah, you're gonna be fine. Chris from Squid Shock, actually, I would talk to him a lot because he had done his Kickstarter, and he was there to be like, dude, you're fine, you're doing good, just relax. Like, you don't need to stress out, your game is gonna get funded, you're doing okay.
Every single shot in your trailer that I watched, it says, we decided specifically to do this kind of visual for the viewer so that it's unique and different. Everything has a precise tone and a precise imagery. Did that come naturally, or did you have to plan that out in some kind of like game design document?
So the ideas came naturally, like the stuff we wanted to do, it all came naturally, but like, dude, we got to a point, we only had like 6 months to essentially make this game. So a lot of our development was for the trailer. We wanted to make a vertical slice. We have one now that we're essentially rebuilding, but we got to a point where we were like, we're not going to have a demo ready for the Kickstarter. So
Yeah.
in order to show people that we have some variety in our game, let's just kind of skip ahead to some levels and just start kind of building for the trailer, which I learned afterwards is something a lot of game companies do, is they kind of dev for trailers in the beginning.
100%. 100%. It's the best way to dev. It really is. In today's era of trying to stand out on Steam, I think the best way to make a game is to think about the trailer, because like in the development world, like I was in web design, what they say is mobile first, like build with mobile in mind. Mobile's always sort of the foundation of everything else that you build. You want it to look great on mobile. At least that's what they were saying 6-7 years ago when I was in it. The same is true with games. My opinion is build your game with the trailer in mind, because then it what it does is it hyper focuses you on what's really important, and you can focus on those things, especially in indie game development, because you have a limited budget and you've got to be effective with every little thing you create. Needs to be super duper effective.
And I'm glad you said that, because I kind of thought we were doing something crazy and unique there, only to find out it's like common practice.
I wouldn't say it's common. I would say I learned it from Gavin at Two Star Games, who created Choo Choo Charles.
Oh, okay. Well, there it is. The viral man himself.
That's right. He thinks about the trailer. I mean, I wouldn't say he builds with the trailer in mind, but what he does is he's hyper focused on creating elements in his game that look meme worthy, and I would say trailer worthy. And so I think you definitely are on the right path when it comes to thinking about how you can put together a trailer. And I wouldn't even worry about not having a demo for Kickstarter. The idea is what matters, and you can figure out how to make the idea happen later once you get the money on Kickstarter, you know?
Yeah, totally. I think there needs to be a good foundation, but yeah, I think like if there wasn't a good foundation, people would see that. I think it'd be obvious.
Well, the big question, Josh, is Kickstarter still viable?
It is very much still viable.
At the end of the day, your Kickstarter raised, I think it was 35,000?
48,000.
Wow, 48,000.
Yeah, it was a long shot, and it only took 8 months, and now I'm a full-time game developer.
By the way, if you're like me and you always dreamt of making an indie game as a full-time job, I have a free webinar below that goes into exactly how to make 6 figures with just a demo. I was just like you for years. I thought I had to make a game in its entirety before getting a paycheck, but there's actually 3 ways to make 6 figures before even finishing your game. I've done this multiple times, so check it out below if you do want to go full-time indie. And thanks for watching.